Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I could not make it live. I hope this will do. So I'm Guillaume Brunin. I'm a researcher from the Institute of Condensed Matter and Nanosciences from the UC Louvain, and I'm going to talk about fireworks for material science. So in our lab, we are interested in functional materials, that are materials used in specific applications because they have given properties. For instance, materials used in photovoltaics, in electronics, in magnetic systems, and so on. Now, even if there are already many applications like these, we are interested in, for instance, finding new and better materials for photovoltaics, so more efficient materials that do not use elements that are difficult to find, for instance. Another problematic could be finding faster and smaller transistors, or materials that could be used for transparent electronics, with many new applications actually, like smart windows. So transparent window that could be used like a screen, or could be more or less opaque depending on the sunlight. Another important example is related to the energy storage, so to batteries. With all the energy concerns now, it's really an important question to which we actually try to contribute in our lab. So how do we do that? Well, in our lab we are actually computing the properties of materials instead of making materials in a lab and then measuring experimentally what it gives. So we start from the structure of the material that we want to study. So basically which atoms the material contains and how these atoms arrange themselves. So this is what we call the unit cell of the crystal that is forming the material. And what we can get just from knowing this crystal unit cell are many properties that are useful for applications, like the stability, because some materials are stable and some are not, meaning that that it's very difficult or even impossible to actually make them in a lab. Also the thermodynamics and the phase diagrams, the electronic structure, the transport of both heat and electricity, the vibrational or magnetic properties, the defect concentrations, and so on. So we actually don't need to go into the details of understanding what each of these is. You should just know that we are able to characterize any crystals using theory and computational tools. Now the thing is that each of these properties can require many different computations, so many different jobs submitted to a cluster or even to different clusters, which can take, of course, some human time, and as we've seen in the last 2 days, it is prone to error, it's cumbersome, and in general, I mean, it can be a bit painful for the researcher who has to run all this, right? On top of that, let's say that we want to find a good material for a given application, a material that has a given property. Now we have databases of materials for which we know the structure, but we have not computed the needed property for all of them yet. So such a database contains tens of thousands of materials with different structures, different atoms, and so on. And we would like to know which ones might be the best for application. So that means that we should compute the property for all of them. And that makes it basically impossible to run such an important quantity of computations for one researcher. And basically we don't want to have to hire an army of PhD students for that. What we would love to have is something like this, where we have a list of materials, and for each of them some code runs the needed computations, and once this is done, it saves the property somewhere in a database, and then the researcher can simply browse the database. Now obviously these few lines are way oversimplified. There are many steps hidden behind this. The first step that we need is that we need an input for the code that will determine the properties, with parameters that will depend on the code, on the property, and even on the crystal. So this is difficult to do, and this is handled in our case by Python packages like AppyPy or Parmesan. Then once the inputs are written, we need something that will run the computations, that will make the links between them, that will actually basically do most of what the researcher does when running the computation by hand. And this is handled by fireworks in our case, and we'll see that in more details a bit later. So during the computations, there might be errors that appear during runtime, and that should be corrected without human supervision if possible. And that is done in our case with Custodian or with AppyPy. Now the results should be stored somewhere, and for that we use a database, and more precisely a Mongo database. And then we can analyze the results using Python, again using AppyPy or Parmesan in our case. So that's a lot of steps, and we clearly don't have the time to go through all of them in many details. And the focus of this talk will be on fireworks, so on the workflow execution. So basically we will just suppose that we all know how to write an input for the codes that we run, and that we all that all we need to know is how to run the workflows. So in a few words, what is Fireworks? Well, it's a general purpose workflow manager, meaning that it can be used for many applications, not only material science, but really anything that needs a workflow to run. It can automate calculations over arbitrary computing resources, and it can actually handle many of them at the same time, so that's really useful. It supports several queuing systems like PBS or Slurm, but also many others. It's a Python package that has a clean and flexible API. It uses a centralized database for the jobs, so it uses MongoDB, but it actually could be extended to something else. And something very useful is that it supports dynamic workflows, meaning that additional needed steps may be added by Fireworks, even though it was not planned by the user initially. And finally, it has a nice web graphical user interface monitor, which is a handy way of checking some information or the status of the workflow and so on. So now we'll see these points in a bit more details, and then we'll see some examples of research in material science from our lab that have used Fireworks. So let's see the basics of Fireworks. So on the left here, we have a workflow that is created by the user or by some other package, like we'll see a bit later. And the workflow is integrated by Fireworks using the Launchpad, which is the so-called central server that makes the link between the user, the database that will contain the workflow, so the Fireworks database, and the so-called workers, so basically machines like your computer or the clusters. So once the workflow is stored in the database, the workers can pull the accessible tasks through the Launchpad and execute them in the order that has been defined by the workflow. And once the workers have finished their task, they can store the results in a database. So in our case, usually a MongoDB database, but it could actually be somewhere else. So we actually really have one database for the workflow, so the Fireworks database, and then a results database that stores the important results as defined by the human who created the workflow. So this is basically how Fireworks works. And now let's get a closer look at the workflow part of all this. So in Fireworks, the workflow is composed of basic building units. So first of all, there is the firework. So here you see that we have 3 fireworks, each of them typically corresponding to one job in the queue. And each firework is composed of one or multiple fire tasks, which are atomic computing jobs. So one command in the command line. So for instance, a firework with 3 fire tasks like this one could be first copy the input files here, then run the computation, and then save the results. And in between these fireworks, there are these firework actions that are objects that are returned at the end of each fire task that can actually do a lot of things, like pass data between different fireworks or create detours in the workflow and so on. So let's take an easy example. So here we have a workflow where each firework is composed of a fire task that basically only echoes some text, so there's no computation, it's just for the example. So we can define the different tasks of the workflow using Python, then make fireworks out of these, and finally assemble the workflow that includes the 4 fireworks. And we also define dependencies between the fireworks, so the first firework is needed for the second and the third one, and so on. Now once the workflow is created and added to the database, we can start the calculation with a simple command, that is this qlaunch, that will either run locally if you don't have a queuing system, or will submit the jobs, the accessible jobs, if there's a queue. Now, as I told you before, there's a web graphical user interface, so this is what it looks like. So here you can see that I have created a workflow called company structure with 4 different fireworks, each of them called assigned job. So one of them is ready, is the first one, the one that assigns the CEO position. Then fireworks can start running, and you see that some jobs become completed. The workflow is running until it completes. And you can also get more information about specific fireworks or fire tasks by just clicking on them. So it's quite useful, in particular at the beginning, when you want to understand all the steps that are happening to make sure that the workflow runs well. So as you can expect, there would be much more things to explain about fireworks. There's just not enough time, so I strongly encourage you to go check the documentation. There are some very nice tutorials if you want to give it a try. I actually discussed with a few people from the lab who used fireworks, and we all agree that they are very well done and very useful. And there's also a paper that you might want to check out. Now, for the few minutes I have left, let's go back to material science and see how we use fireworks in a more specific case. So, as I explained before, there are many steps needed before having something truly automatic, where we just have to click on a button and then the computation runs by itself. And most of these steps have been gathered into higher level tools like AbiFlows or Automate that have been designed for our material science applications. So basically either AbiFlows or Automate will generate a set of inputs that are needed. They will create the workflow with all the necessary steps. You just have to tell it what property you want. Then it will use custodian or RBPy to correct the errors if there are any appearing at runtime. And finally, it will store the results in a Mongo database. Now, all that's left for you to do is basically configure fireworks, configure the workers and so on, and then to tell fireworks that it can start the computations. So I would like to give a few examples of what the group did here with fireworks. So the first one is a work where the electronic transport has been characterized in many materials. So basically knowing if the materials are able to conduct electricity well or not, using fireworks, of course, and for close to 50,000 different materials. So this is the workflow that has been used in a simplified version, obviously. And the results have been stored and are now actually available for anyone who needs them, which is really nice. Another more recent example was for the search of new photovoltaic materials, where we need different properties that have to be gathered. And for instance, here, the first one, for this one, we simply reused the previous work, so that saved us some time. And then the other steps were automated using Automate together with fireworks, because that in total included a few thousand different computations, so it was really necessary, and in the end that led to a nice publication. A third example was the characterization of the vibrational properties of materials that can then be used to describe the thermodynamics of the system, to better describe the transport and so on. So these are heavier computations than the first one, where we had 50,000 materials. So here it's 1,500, which is actually a lot considering that these are much more involved computations. So you can see the workflow is it's much more complex. Alright, I'm arriving at the end of my presentation, so here is your take-home message that is relatively short actually. So as I've shown, in material science we need to run many computations, and we use workflows to handle them in a more automatic way. Otherwise we're just overwhelmed because there are many different computations to do. And to do that we use fireworks that can be used actually in many applications. It's very versatile. So if you feel like it could be a solution for you, I just really encourage you to go check the documentation and give it a try. And I want to thank you for your attention.